Hello, dear organizers, colleagues, and researchers from different fields of social sciences and management sciences in particular. Thank you for your attendance and interest in this presentation. My name is MOUSADIK. I'm a researcher from Laboratory for Studies and Research in Economics and Management, LERSEC, of the University Sultan Moulay Slimane of Bni Mellal. Today, I'm going to give a short presentation on Impact of CSR practices on human resources performance during the COVID-19 pandemic, the case of Moroccan companies labeled with the CSR label. So, my presentation is divided into many sections. Firstly, I will introduce my topic and delimate the question of our research. Secondly, we will take a look at the literature of our main concepts, that is the CSR, of course, and examine this practice on Moroccan companies, and fill you on the history of CSR and its evolution. And finally, we will concentrate on the methodology and results of our study. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to serious economic and business disruptions, whether or not they are able to continue to operate. These disruptions have had a wide variety of impacts on business, many of which are in serious financial difficulty. In Morocco, for example, the government has taken exceptional measures to try to contain the pandemic, such as imposing general containment and large-scale cessation of economic activity, and proposing assistance and redress mechanisms to support business and workers in difficulty. Many companies have also mobilized their efforts to participate in containing the pandemic and mitigating the economic blow to their workers. The purpose of this communication is to present the case of Moroccan companies labeled CSR with their socially responsible practices during the COVID-19 that affected the world and that did not have only an impact on the economy, but also, as you know, on mental health, the social climate, and working conditions of its employees. This choice justifies a determination to address companies that have demonstrated their environmental, societal, and socially responsible commitment in a formal and voluntary manner. This provides credibility and reliability to the information collected for our study course. So, our communications aim to address the role of CSR and its impact when leaders from all sectors are supposed to protect their employees' health and to mobilize to protect the health of the citizen while supporting the country economy. This is why this presentation will respond to the question below. What roles do Moroccan companies' CSR practices have in mitigating the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic? So let's start by discovering our concept. CSR is by nature a multidimensional concept, and each dimension must be taken into account to analyze the CSR performance link. The concept of social responsibility was formally introduced at the United Nations Conference on the Environment in Stockholm in 1972. They were reaffirmed on a number of occasions, including at the Rio Summit in 1992. This movement was initially concerned only with the environment. The concept was then extended to employees, customers, suppliers, investors, and civil society. Pressure from shareholders, employees, consumers, some NGOs, and the regularity framework is increasingly influencing managers. These pressures are increasingly strong on the company so that it defines its strategy of sustainable development through what is now referred to as its social responsibility. Such a strategy implies, first of all, simultaneous integration and processing of the economic, ecological, and social dimensions related to the company's activities, and changes in the internal management of the campaign. In terms of management, we can define the CSR as the way the company responds to societal interpellations by producing strategies, management systems, change management and methods of steering control, evaluation and surrender, incorporating new conceptions of performance also. Nowadays, CSR is gaining great interest in emerging and developing countries. For example, the evolution of the Moroccan social context has predisposed companies to quickly adopt socially responsible practices that allow a reconciliation between economic and social performance. In the recent years, Morocco has been a site in which social and economic innovations are booming. In this context, King Mohammed VI launched in 2005 the National Initiative for Human Development. It is a strategic reference for social development and the consolidation of the achievements of democracy, decentralization, and improvement of the social and economic conditions of the disadvantaged sections of the population. In this context, Moroccan companies strive to be active economic players in the development of this national initiative. The concept of corporate social responsibility thus finds a strategic and national framework to which companies can refer. And to conclude, the introduction of CSR in Morocco was made in three ways. The first way, the subsidiaries of multinationals which are linked by the policies of the parent companies and therefore engage in CSR process and ensure that their local partners adhere to it. The second way, companies owned by nationals but whose activities are heavily dependent on multinationals or foreign clients demanding CSR. As such, we cite the example of textile companies that are obliged to invest in certification to access markets or maintain clients. The third way, as explained by Filali Mknasi, in which CSR diffuses, is that of international cooperation, technical assistance, and management consultancy. These projects can sometimes be devoted exclusively to the CSR theme, as the case of the project Sustainable Development through the Global Compact in 2006. In addition, the General Confederation of Moroccan Enterprises Label for corporate social responsibility is a solemn recognition of the respect by Moroccan companies for their commitment to observe, defend, and promote the universal principles of social responsibility and sustainable development in their economic activities, their social relations, and more generally, their contribution to the creation of value. The CSR label is adopted on December 14, 2006 by the National Council of the company. This charter is structured in 9 axes of commitments defining each precise and measurable goals of strategy and managerial behavior. 1. The respect of human rights. Continuously improve employment and working conditions and industrial relations. Protect the environment. Preventing corruption. Respect the rules of healthy competitions. Strengthen the transparency of corporate governance. Respect the interests of customers and consumers. The research we carried out in the labeled Moroccan companies examines the role of social practices during the pandemic COVID-19. So, after having defined the basic concepts and the Moroccan context, we chose for our work a qualitative approach based on a literature review and cell phone interviews with the heads of the institutions in order to enhance our work. Our study was conducted among two large Moroccan companies, the OCP and the Tijari Wafa Bank Group. These two companies are certified by the CSR Label. Now, a short presentation of the companies survived is necessary. The first one is the OCP Group, formerly Office Chérifien de Phosphate, founded on August 7, 1920 in Morocco and transformed in 2008 into a public limited company. Is the leading exporter of raw phosphate, phosphoric acid and phosphate fertilizers in the world. The second company is Tijari Wafa Bank, is a Moroccan banking and financial group, Pan-African international based in Morocco. It was born following the merger absorption operation carried out in 2003 between the Commercial Bank of Morocco, founded in 1911, and Wafa Bank. Arriving to the results, here are the most practices used by the two companies during the COVID-19 period according to the data available on the internet and interviews with managers. The first thing, companies are increasingly using the digital tools to identify, recruit and retain employees by online or telephone recruitment. Enhanced hygiene and traffic organization measures have been put in place through the network and central sites for the safety of consumers and employees. Security of employees and procurement, like many companies with an international dimension, have made massive use of teleworking for all administrative staff. According to the managers, the two companies were very quickly notified of the new preventive and disinfection measures. Their priority has been to ensure the health and well-being of their employees, their communities, their subcontractors, and all partners. Based on this modest data, it can be confirmed that the two labeled companies have been fully mobilized during the pandemic and mobilize a CSR policy for the benefit of all its stakeholders. Since the beginning of this crisis, companies with the best environmental, social, and societal rating have shown greater resistance to the current economic and financial shock. Of course, all companies have suffered from a general economic and financial shock, but those with strong CSR policies are more resilient. On the other hand, companies which have considered or still consider CSR to be a simple matter of certification or communication have encountered more difficulties without having created space for dialogue with other stakeholders in their business than their customers and shareholders as well. To conclude, this communication is a first attempt to understand the behavior of certified companies in the face of COVID-19 and the initiatives implemented to mitigate its economic and social impact. Our ambition is to complete this work with a comparative study of the practices of labeled and unlabeled companies to have a general look of the situation and understand the difficulties of companies to be socially responsible. So, thank you for your listening, attendance, and patience, and see you next time in another edition of this great scientific event. Thank you.